test, LG G6, a beautiful screen, excellent battery life and a shock camera. Forgot the modular G5 unconvincing of last year. In 2017 LG plans to be back on the spot with its new high-end smartphone, the G6. A model with the big and beautiful screen that has reserved a surprise to us in photo, a sector usually dominated by Samsung. Most. Plus photo quality above the lot. Plus wide-angle lens. Plus IPS screen quality. Plus waterproofing, IP68. The lessers. No AMOLED screen for a high-end model. 18:9 ratio not suitable for some applications. Only 32 GB of storage. The most tempting model of the Mobile World Congress, the G6 took an old shot a few weeks later with the release of the Galaxy S8. And yet, with this device, LG simply takes the lead in our comparison of high-end smartphones. A place that may soon be delighted by his new Korean cousin, but in the meantime, the performance is real. On design, the G6 actually adopts almost the same screen ratio as the Galaxy S8, 18:9 versus 18.5:9, but without the curved edges of the latter. Only the AMOLED slabs for which Samsung has opted can indeed offer such a shape. LG has chosen, for its part, the IPS technology for its smartphone. In spite of this decision, which some will blame the manufacturer, the 5.7-inch screen of the G6 provides very excellent performances, a very satisfactory brightness of 472 CD/m superscript 2 and, especially an excellent contrast ratio of 2222:1. One of the best we have measured on an IPS screen so far. The quality of display is therefore to go and the readability outdoors without reproach, especially since the smartphone shows a high resolution of 565 dots per inch. Screen ratio not always suitable. However, the 18:9 ratio adopted here instead of the traditional 16:9 ratio remains unsuitable for some applications. Many are actually not yet optimized for this type of format while length. This is the case of Super Mario Run, though recently released on Android. In the original version, 16:9 compatibility, we find ourselves with a black band at the top and bottom of the screen of the G6. A second option proposes to reduce these two unsightly bands by going to 16.7:9. The third one allows to pass the application in full screen, in 18:9 therefore. Unfortunately this very logically crop on the sides of the application which is therefore not displayed in full. It seems that developers can natively adapt their applications to the new screen ratios of LG and Samsung quite easily, thanks to a simple line of code. In the meantime, it is better to know that the new format of this screen can sometimes cause problems. For the back of his device, LG remains true to the metal that completely covers it. This is also where the fingerprint sensor is placed. A location not always practical, especially when the smartphone is placed on a table, but some users love it because it falls easily under the finger once the smartphone in hand. This sensor is effective, but cannot compete with the fastest of the time, the one integrated by Huawei in its P10. Also note the IP68 waterproofing welcome on this model. Photo quality above the batch. Above the fingerprint reader are the two photo lenses. LG retains the principle inaugurated on its G5 by proposing a different focal length for each of the sensor's 13 megapixels of brand Sony. The first lens opens at f/1.8 and uses a focal length of 30 mm, while the second opens at f/2.4 with a focal length of 11 mm. The latter makes it possible to have an angle of 125 degrees to capture the maximum possible of the scene in front of which one is. At the price of course a slight deformation. The camera application offers everything that is expected of a modern smartphone: manual mode, square format, and filters of all kinds. We simply regret that the triggering of the photo is not as instantaneous as what offers Apple and Samsung on their devices. It will be necessary to wait until the autofocus, sometimes a little slow, finish making the point for the photo to be taken. On the other hand, LG decided to set the default resolution to 8.7 megapixels in 18:9 format to fit the ratio of the screen. But we noticed that the results obtained by adjusting the camera in the standard 4:3 format for a definition reaching then 13 megapixels was much better. Logical enough. As well as announce it immediately, the G6 photo results are absolutely stunning, regardless of the focal length used. In broad daylight, the sound shots sound, the rendering of the optics very homogeneous, and the colors faithful. We could blame them a little too much emphasis, but it allows to get a lot of details. Especially, the G6 achieves an equivalent performance in low lights and it becomes, therefore, the best smartphone that we have tested on this point. On our pictures, the smoothing that eliminates the noise is clearly visible, but remains used with enough parsimony to preserve the details. In video, the G6 is also very efficient, thanks to a very effective stabilization. You will understand, LG makes a no fault in photo and video and is paid especially the luxury to surpass the competition, Galaxy S7 included. Powerful and autonomous. One of the disappointments concerning the G6 during its presentation at the MWC in Barcelona was obviously the absence of the Snapdragon 835, Samsung's new processor in the mobile. The takeover of Samsung on the stocks needed for its Galaxy S8 has been due to the supply of competition. Instead, LG chose the previous model, the Snapdragon 821 at 2.35 GHz. The latter is backed by an Adreno 530 graphics chip and 4 GB of RAM. In other words, with such a configuration, the daily navigation in the interface and the applications is ensured in a perfectly reactive way. This is also the case for 3D games, perfectly fluid on this device, including the most sophisticated ones that continue to display maximum details without jerking. In the area of disappointments, on the other hand, we regret the storage capacity of only 32 GB, when the high-end models now bet on 64 GB. The latter is certainly extensible by microSD, but for the installation of games, nothing beats a solid internal memory. Despite its great power, the G6 handles very well the energy consumption of its 3300 mAh battery. It was held at 11:09 am during our multi-use test. This is all the more remarkable as other models also using the Snapdragon 821 do not perform as well. For example, the OnePlus 3TS 3400 mAh battery only held 950 during the same test. That of 3000 mAh of the Zenfone 3 Deluxe, only 8H20. This seems to demonstrate that LG knew how to optimize the consumption of its smartphone. The G6 also held 13H16 in video reading and 26H24 in communications. Technical sheet. LG G6. Android 7.0 system. Qualcomm Snapdragon 821 processor. Screen size, diagonal, 5.7. Screen resolution 500 and